Thank you. I was walking up to the stage. I'd just been introduced, and I turned to look out at an audience, about 100 people that were ideal clients for me. This was about 10 years ago. All those eyes, I realized, were looking back at me. Maybe you can relate to this. I remember the response that I had. It was almost like time slowed down. In that moment, I felt the pressure. The air felt thick. Yeah, my eyes bulged out a little bit like deer in headlights. The sweat popped out of every pore and started, dripping down places. My heart's pounding, and my thoughts, the words just disappeared. I'm staring there. I mean, this was a full out freeze moment. Please tell me I'm not the only person that's ever experienced this. Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk a lot about this today. Oh my gosh. So I got through that presentation. Really, that's what it was. I survived it. I got through it, didn't do a great job and didn't thrive in it. And, I would say I didn't do a good job because I didn't get any clients from that opportunity. It was a wake up call. How can I improve my speaking? And even more so, how can I feel better while I'm doing it? Yeah, which always translates to the audience as well. We're here to work on that, how you can get rid of speaking anxiety, nerves, performance anxiety, and get better at high stakes communications. Any moment that feels high stakes for you. It could be a one-on-one interview. It could be a big conference talk. It could be a small group meeting, whatever your spotlight is. And I want to hear from everybody about their spotlight in just a moment. As set up here, speaking really has changed. Have you noticed? Like, even just in the last 5 years, especially because of COVID, speaking has changed. Dale Carnegie, Toastmaster style speaking doesn't fly anymore. We're not into it. The internet has changed our expectations of speaking, like just TikTok videos and reels, right? We want authentic, natural human communications versus robotic, flat, scripted communications, especially now with AI. I think that AI is not going to replace speaking, by the way. I think that it's going to make speaking skills more of a premium, like a really special thing that only people have, right? And virtual speaking has changed everything. Everything went online, right? 4 or 5 years ago. Work has become more casual in general. Give me a thumbs up if you experience this. Leadership is more informal. Companies become more horizontal, which, has its benefits and its downsides in some ways. Social media, Netflix, all the streaming services have ruined us in a lot of ways. The modern audience's attention span is so much shorter than it used to be. You are competing, seriously competing with so many different screens and just how people's minds work these days. Our culture has evolved. You no longer have to put a mask on and push through. Like, you don't have to. It's not necessarily expected. Diversity is encouraged, uniqueness is rewarded, and self-care is encouraged. That's actually pretty lovely. Like, I want to remind you of these things. You ladies that are here with me today, are you used to being in the background or on the sidelines? Maybe you're that marketing chick that gets all this stuff done when you have tons of expertise and passion that you could share, and perhaps a desire to share it in a bigger way. Are you overwhelmed by self-consciousness, perfectionism, imposter syndrome that leaves you playing small? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're relating to any of this. And are you a little stressed about how much time it takes to prepare for your presentations or your meetings? Maybe it's hours and hours and it's just not sustainable. That changes today. Yeah, let's address those things. Okay, I'm Julia Kraft. Thank you, Berlin. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, SoCal Marketing Group. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to share and bring my expertise as a gift to all of you, because I know the amazing work that you do and that you're smart, professional women that have something important to share. I'm a speaker, I'm a public speaking trainer, and by the way, I'm an introvert. You might not believe me, but I'm super introverted. I would much rather be on the couch with my kitties in my little introverted bubble. Maybe you relate to that too. And I'm a trained actress. I went to Emerson College back in the day. I am a whole speak certified public speaking coach. I am the founder of Speak to Inspire Coaching, my coaching company. It's been around for a little over 10 years. I've taught thousands of live workshops and trainings. you are adding yourself to the list right now of those trainings. I've coached 500 or more one-on-one clients and counting. I'm a creator of the Speak to Inspire podcast, or the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. Check it out. But like I told you in my story earlier, it wasn't always that way, that I was confident and out there and visible and taking opportunities, saying yes to opportunities. I really experienced a lot of performance anxiety, a lot of nerves, a lot of fear of the audience's judgment. And I learned a lot of things along the way that I hope can help you to avoid some of the pitfalls that I ended up in. By the end of this workshop, you're going to learn how to increase your confidence and reduce nerves when the spotlight is on you. This is the foundation. Then we'll work on how to think on your feet when the pressure is on and sound like a credible expert, even if you're on the fly. And we'll also explore how to inspire others to take action through your executive presence. Sound good? We're going to do a really quick icebreaker exercise. I know some women have been joining since I got started, and I'm really glad that you're all here. I want to get your voices in the room because this presentation also, it's about you. It's for you, it's about you. Yeah, and it's about your voice. So in a moment, I'm going to invite all of you, even if you're not on video, doesn't matter. I want you to unmute yourself, and all at the same time, we're going to say, hello, hi, and say your name. Hi, my name is Julia. Yeah, and you just introduce yourself, even though we're all going to be talking at the same time, and we're going to hear each other and feel each other's presence from wherever you're coming in from. Yeah, you ready? Unmute, 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 unmute. I can see you. I can see you. Make sure to unmute. Adrian and Leah, if you can unmute, I would love to hear your voices. Okay, I'm going to give a countdown and then we'll all introduce ourselves at the same time. 3, 2, 1.
Hello,
Hi,
good
I'm
morning.
Julia.
Revati.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. That was really nice to hear your voices. Yeah, please feel free to mute yourself again. And there could be opportunities in the throughout the training where you can ask questions or bring in your voice. But for now, maybe good to mute yourself. Okay. What is your spotlight? Write to me in the chat box. Let me get the chat box up here. I know that you're all in marketing, so I would like to hear more about what is your spotlight? What are the moments for you on a regular basis, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, where the spotlight is on you and your communication really matters and makes a difference and you want to improve it? So what are your spotlight moments? Okay. No way. All Julia's went to Emerson? That's insane. Wow.
We
That's a
were
huge.
roommates in college at Emerson. That's how the other
Got
Julia and I know
randomly
each
put
other.
together
Oh my
randomly.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's insane. So I guess maybe I'm older than you. I don't know if we were there at the same time. I'm 38.
We were
Yeah, we're turning
20.
30 this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's a few years ahead of
couple
you.
years.
Okay, I want to hear about your spotlight moments. I teach workshops, have office hours often, and want to do more pods. Berlin, can you let me know what pods are? Any meetings where I'm presenting my latest book at work? Yeah, that's a big one. Your latest book. Yeah. So when you say book, is it like a book that you designed? Yeah.
Yeah, so I work in real estate and essentially they give me all the information about like a new multifamily building they're selling.
Mhm.
And then I take all that information
That's
and
what you mean by books. Got
yeah,
it. Got it.
exactly. Write
I was
it,
thinking
design
like
it.
you're an author kind of thing,
No,
but
not
okay.
quite.
And podcast, got it, Berlin. That makes sense. Meetings where I have to take live notes, sharing my screen. Yeah, got it. And I would just imagine with marketing people, you're often sharing designs or sharing strategies, right? And you need to get buy-in. So maybe that's virtual. Sounds like a lot of this is virtual. Anybody have in-person stuff that they do, communicating with other creatives in the film industry? Cool. Without belittling my status in comparison to them. Okay, interesting. Thank you, Cassie. It might come up a little bit in the next few slides. Working with community-based organizations and helping them develop strategic plans and evaluate programs so they can sustainably scale. That sounds very professional. Yeah. So how does that relate to your speaking? What kind of situations do you speak in? Too nervous to do it in person, LOL. Yeah, so virtual can sometimes feel safer, right? Let's explore some basic vocabulary to set ourselves up for success today as we learn. First of all, there's two parts of communication: external and internal. External, this lady has her hand on her hips and she looks confident. Now she might be freaking out on the inside. So, you don't know what's going on, but she looks confident through her body language. Whereas internal confidence is how you feel about yourself, your belief in yourself, your relationship to yourself, and how you perceive yourself. There are two parts of communication: verbal and nonverbal. This might be obvious, but in order to train you as a speaker, we actually have to separate these and work on them separately and then bring them back together. Verbal communication is all the words that you say, the content. And nonverbal communication is everything other than the words. Can you write in the chat for me some examples of nonverbal communication? What are some easy, common examples of nonverbal communication that
Body
we've
language.
all ever? Yes, body language, eye contact, yes. Hand gestures, absolutely. Crossing your arms is an example of hand gestures, yes. What else? There's actually a lot to nonverbal communication. What are some other options? What about your voice? The vocal tonality, pacing of your voice, the pitch of your voice, short head tilting, yeah, yeah. Posture, even what you wear can be part of nonverbal communication. We won't necessarily work on wardrobe today, but just mentioning it. Okay. Building block number one that we're going to explore. This is the foundation. That's why I'm calling it building blocks. Like, if this foundation isn't steady and stable, then the other speaker skills that you learn, that say you go to YouTube and you learn a bunch of speaker skills, they usually don't stick, and it's really hard to implement them if you don't work with this first building block, which is calming your nerves. Yeah. And just feeling more at ease and relaxed and present. Let's explore it. I want to hear from all of you. What is it like for you when you're nervous in the spotlight? What are your challenges when it comes to communication confidence? Tell me about your symptoms in the chat box. What are the kinds of things that you experience in those meetings, in those presentations about your designs or your vision? Yeah. I'm scared for people to ask. Where'd that go? Scared for people. Oh gosh, they're coming so fast. I can't get it. To ask my questions that I don't know the answer. Yeah, that you won't know the answer. Got it. I lose my train of thought. Yep, I talk really fast and stumble over my words. Okay. Overthink. And a lot of people say meaning those things. Yeah. But these are really common. Repeating the same thing. Yeah. Forgetting the main point. So that blank out seems very common for this group. Here are some common symptoms that I see with my clients. And these are all symptoms of your nervous system being out of balance, by the way. We're going to talk about your nervous system more in a second. Your nervous system communicates with you through physical symptoms. Common symptoms: heart racing, sweating, tight muscles, or stiffness. You just get sort of stiff and stuck. Blanking out, rambling, stumbling, like a lot of you said. Flushed cheeks is a really involuntary psychosomatic symptom. Shaky knees, same. Wobbly voice, crackly voice, all of that. Here's the thing: nerves are normal. I don't know if you thought of it that way before, but nerves are incredibly normal and common. Look at this study about the number one fears. Speaking before a group, number one. What's number? I think it's number seven. It's seven. Death is down there. I love that Jerry Seinfeld quote. He says, he did this in a stand up. If this statistic is true, it means that if we're all at a funeral, we'd rather be in the casket than up giving the eulogy. When you think of it that way, I don't know, but it's really normal. When a tiger is chasing you, when you feel a sense of threat, imagine a tiger is chasing me. There's no time to think, right? When a tiger is chasing you, you don't think, you just act. And one of the ways that there's several levels of how you act in response to a threat. We're going to go through those now. Here it is. There are 3 levels of the autonomic nervous system that get triggered when we feel like that tiger is chasing us, when there's a threat, which in terms of public speaking, what are the kind of threats? What are the kind of threats? What do people think of me? Am I going to get it right? Am I going to be able to remember what to say? Is this going to hurt my reputation? Am I going to get the job? Are they going to buy my thing? And you have all of your own, I'm sure. Oh, yeah, ostracism. I'm going to be ostracized from the group. Yeah. The top of our nervous system, autonomic nervous system. Yeah, I'm going to look numb. Yeah, totally. Did I say numb? Dumb. There we go. The top of the nervous system is the ventral vagal activation, which is when we feel safe. So you're able to be social and engaged. I call this stay and play mode. There's things happening. I'm talking to people. This might be when you're at a coffee shop talking to people, or you're in the office and just walking around talking to your colleagues. There isn't a feeling of a trigger yet. So you can stay and play. That's where we want to be. But what often happens with speaking is that our nervous system gets triggered. There's that feeling of the tiger, right? That's chasing you. And first of all, your nervous system goes into fight mode. How can I fight back against this threat? Can I get dominance over this threat? In terms of speaking, you often can't, or it would be inappropriate to get dominance. Imagine this, that you're in a meeting situation and you feel threatened. You feel this sense of nerves about what people think of you. And the way you respond to it is you get loud and you slam the desk and you tell people off. Yeah, that's fight mode. But, my nice women, appropriate, well-conditioned women, usually skip right over fight mode and go to flight mode, which is when your legs want to run away. You want to get away. You want to avoid the situation. Anybody ever avoided speaking before? Yeah. So I've heard clients say that they pretend they're having a technical difficulty and, X themselves out of Zoom rooms, or, defer to somebody else in that meeting so they can just get away from it. This is flight mode. It's a strategy to handle a feeling of not being safe. Are you following me? Is this making sense? Okay. In flight mode with speaking, you might feel like everything wants to subtly go away. And this is when people start fidgeting. This is when their voices go down and you can't really hear them. All the ways that you're subtly trying to get away from the situation. There's a lot of ways it can show up. But ultimately, with speaking, a lot of times you can't ever fully flee and get away, right? The show must go on. And so if you continue to feel the threat, the sense of lack of safety, and you're anxious about what might happen. Anxiety is always about a hypothetical future, right? So if you're anxious about what might happen, then your nervous system sends you into freeze mode. How does freeze mode look? You feel numb, you feel collapsed and shut down. Everything gets tight, small, and a little just frozen, right? Your eyes might get sort of stuck, like I talked about deer in headlights earlier. You might rush through to get it over with. Your heart can be racing, but still you can't move. It's a really strange feeling. It's almost like a trauma response, to get deep for a moment. It's really stressful for your nervous system. It's stressful for you. And yet it's incredibly common. Everybody talked about blankouts earlier. Almost everybody talked about blankouts. That's the freeze response. Yeah. So you imagining where you might be in this, do you tend to stay in play mode? Do you end up in fight mode, flight mode, or freeze? Write to me in the chat box what you're becoming aware of about yourself through learning this. I'm a freezer. Yeah. Fight and freeze. Yep. Okay. Good awareness. Yeah. Okay. Is it possible to be in the middle section, but more frantic than aggressive? Yeah. Frantic. I would actually say frantic is flight mode. When there's that fidgety, the sense of I gotta do something. When there's that energy racing, but it's going almost sideways instead of towards somebody. Fight mode is all the energy built up coming at the threat. Yeah. Good. Okay. Let's explore this together through a breathing exercise. And I'm sure you've done breathing exercises before. Why do you think that I would do a breathing exercise when we're working on speaking? Well, number one, your breathing controls your nervous system and expresses where your nervous system is at. So when you're in an anxiety mode, your breath gets sort of shallow, right? So you can choose to deepen your breathing and support your nervous system to know that it's safe. The other part of breathing that's so important for speaking is that you can't make sound without taking a breath first. Your voice, your words are your exhale. Yes? Your words are your exhale. So your inhale becomes incredibly important for you to have a strong, resonant, powerful voice. Okay. That's why we're doing some breathing. So I invite you now to lean back in your chair, wherever you are, whatever you're up to, and shift your eyes either downwards if you just want to zone out from the screen for a moment, or you can close your eyes so that you draw all your attention to your breathing. You're going to start to notice, oh, I feel my breath. I feel my breath maybe in my nostrils. I feel my breath maybe in my rib cage or my belly. Notice where you feel your breath moving. I'm going to guide you through 3 deep breaths. So just follow my count. Start with an exhale. Big exhale. Inhale through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1. And slowly out the mouth for 4, 3, 2, 1. In through the nose, 4, 3, 2, 1. And out the mouth for 4, 3, 2, 1. Last breath in through the nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Out the mouth for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to a natural breath rhythm and notice the impact of just 3 breaths. When you're ready, write that into the chat box for me. What is the impact of taking 3 slow, deep breaths? It can be really powerful. Shoulders relaxed. Good. You dropped in. Yeah. Heart rate slowed down. Good. And you feel relaxed. Fantastic. So imagine if you did that very simple, short exercise before your next important meeting or presentation. It's not 100% the solution, disclaimer, but it's a really good start. It can really take the edge off and help you come back to your center. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions about breathing specifically and about regulating your nervous system? Any questions about how this might apply to your situation, your context? Can let me know in the chat. You can unmute. Okay. I hope it was helpful. Let's explore the next building block. Once you're calmer and you can think more clearly, you're not freaking out so much, then we can work on mastering improvisation. Now, why do I bring up improvisation? What do you think of when I say improvisation? What do you think of it? Do you think of like comedy improv kind of stuff? Well, I'm not talking about that. You know, every day, all the time, since the time you learn to talk, which has been a long time, I'm sure, you're improvising. You know, you're hanging out with your girlfriend, you're chatting, getting the update from each other, spilling the tea. You are just improvising. You don't have a script, you don't have a plan, right? I believe that we are all already master improvisers as human beings. It's just that something happens in this public speaking thing where I feel like I have to be all put together and perfect. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. So that's the first step with calming your nervous system, right? If we can down regulate your nervous system, you're going to be able to naturally improvise more easily. And you're going to be able to let go of your scripts a little bit more. What helps with this is to learn improv structures so that you can think on the fly and still sound credible because things are organized. Yeah. This is also important to, in the process or the experience of improvisation, to get into a flow state, just like you are with your girlfriend over a glass of wine. You know, you're in a flow state, you're not overthinking it, you're just going with the flow. And that helps you to build trust with yourself, especially trust in your expertise. I know that all of you have an expertise. The art of improvisation is a mindset of yes and, saying yes to things that come your way, which is a flow state, right? Yeah, let's do it. Let's try that. Let's go this direction. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. And let's try it this way. So, yes, and, right? I'm just going to say yes to things and add on and move forward. This is really important. And using improv structures, like I said, can really help you be able to stay grounded and focused while you flow with whatever comes up in the moment. The first improv structure that I want to share with you is the idea of the power of threes. It's so simple. It's, I mean, not brain surgery by any means, right? Anybody can do this. And so many people don't. Most people don't, right? So you can stand out in terms of your communication simply by organizing your thoughts into threes. It will help you organize your thoughts and stay on track. It will help the audience immensely to follow you and know where they are in the journey. Think right now that I introduced that we had three sections right up at the beginning. And now we're going through those three sections. So we're here in section number 2, and you know that there's a third section coming up. The power of that, just the ability to be aligned with each other, is really powerful to keep engagement. How could you use this power of threes? Well, here's a really common, really accessible structure you can use for really anything. Bookending structure. Think of a book with a cover and a back cover. Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. Does that make sense? I'm going to do a little intro of what I'm going to tell you. Then I'm going to tell you all the stuff that I want to say. And then I'm going to tell you what I told you. It's a conclusion. This can be layered. You can have many of them, but it's a basic structure you can use over and over again to sound more credible. I'll give you an example. Give me a topic, any topic in the chat that you want me to improvise on, and I'll use this structure. What topic do you want me to talk about? Oh, my cat. Yeah, did you hear her or something? She was at the door a little earlier. Okay. Okay, so Tabby is a curious cat who likes to play and really like make messes. For example, when Tabby wants to get some water, she wants to get it from my sink. So every morning, she comes into the bathroom when I am about to take a shower. She's meowing, 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 and wants to get up into the sink no matter how dirty her paws are, because she goes outside. She's an outdoor cat. And she has to have that sink turned on, and she will cry until you do it. I mean, she's persistent. And then she'll walk off while I'm in the middle of my shower without doubt. And I come out and the toilet and the top of the sink covered in dirty paws prints. So Tabby is definitely a curious cat that doesn't mind a mess and doesn't really care about leaving you a mess. Okay, that was my little improvisation. Did you notice I had a brief introduction and then I reflected it at the end? I did a little bit of repetition. What did you notice about that? You have a sink monster too. But yeah, what did you notice about how I used the structure? How did it impact you? What did I do with it? Anybody? Curious is what sticks in my mind. And it sticks in your mind because I repeated it. Repetition is super powerful. Yeah. It kept to the main point, right? It wasn't going off in a million directions. I was talking about one thing and I was driving it home. Yeah. Now, if we had more time, I would have you all practice this. For now, what I want to give you as homework is to use this in your next meeting. Use this in your next meeting where you clarify your idea. What is your big idea, your opinion, your belief, your thought leadership? Say it clearly. Then dive a little deeper, get some examples, a story, some data, etc. And then make sure to come back to that core idea again in a clear conclusion. What questions do you have about using the bookending structure or the power of threes? Well, one element of using this is managing your presence, your ability to think clearly. I want to speak to the scenario of blankouts, which, by the way, blankouts are completely normal. Like they happen to the best speakers. So actually, it's in your best interest to expect blankouts are going to happen instead of fearing them, right? Expect they're going to happen. And now I'm going to give you a strategy of how to handle them. So you'll be like a pro when it comes to those blankout moments. You don't have to be afraid of them anymore. Number one, when a blankout happens, pause. Just stop talking. Don't fill it with filler words. Don't stumble and ramble around. Just pause and breathe while you're pausing. Take a deep breath, get some oxygen to your brain, calm your nervous system. And while you're doing all of that, hold eye contact with your audience, or in this case, the camera. Hold eye contact. Nobody will even know that you blanked out. And you'll stay present instead of floating off into some anxiety sphere where you're worrying about what people think. How do you feel calm during the pause when everyone is looking at you? Those few seconds feel so long. I totally hear you. How do you feel calm? Well, since I'm inviting you to focus on the breathing when you're in the pause, your attention should be on yourself and your own body, not on what other people are thinking of you. That's a shift of, you could say, priority, a shift of attention that could really help because your habit is to worry about what people are thinking of you, right? That's the habit. All your energy goes out there. And I'm saying, bring it back to you. Almost you could say, fill up your cup first before you worry about them. Because in the blank out moments, it just means that you got a little ahead of yourself. Maybe you went too fast. You know, you couldn't catch up with yourself. Maybe you got distracted by something. I've had that happen where a truck goes by or a call comes in and I get distracted. It's okay. Or maybe you really did just forget. That's human. So you're going to gather your thoughts, bring your energy back to yourself, recalibrate, and stay present while you're doing that. Any thoughts or questions about Cliff's strategy? This is something that could transform your blank out moments into like powerful pauses that are full of that positive anticipation, like, ooh, she's about to say something important. She just paused. Let's go on to the third building block, which builds on top of improvisation. You were focusing more on content and just being in that flow state. But then this is where the third step is where you can master the art of delivery, which is like the ribbon that you put around your message. You know, if somebody gives you a present and it's wrapped in a dirty paper bag that's like has oil stains on it, even if it's a beautiful necklace on the inside, it's the packaging. It's just, it left you with the feeling. Delivery is the packaging of your message. What if you got a present and it was a Tiffany box with that beautiful white bow? Ooh, you're excited about it. You value it more. You lean in more. Yeah. See, most of what we are responding to in others is nonverbal communication. Remember that list that we did earlier of nonverbal communication? There was a study done, it's called the Dr. Fox study. What they did is they brought in a big audience and two different speakers to speak to the audience. One speaker, the first speaker, was a doctor, years and years of expertise, PhDs, written articles, known in his field for this particular thing. And he gives a talk on what he is an expert in. Sure, he has a huge depth of knowledge in this and lots of background and everything. However, his delivery is that he's standing behind a podium. He's almost fully reading off of a script. So you can imagine his delivery might be a little flat. He sounds like he's reading. Our second speaker is an actor that they hired to read a few articles of Our Real Doctor a few days before. Of course, no way he could have as much depth of knowledge. But what do you think the actor did differently? The actor was moving around the stage, looking people in the eye, had energy and dynamics, volume changes, was making an impact on the audience and really cared if they were with him and were connecting. Back to the audience. What was the results that came out of this? Well, here it is. 93% of what the audience was responding to in the speaker was their nonverbal communication. 93%. And we break that down, 50, what is it, 55? Whoops. 50, I can't see what the chat thing, 55, yeah. 55% was nonverbal, that's what they said here, but they're talking about body language. Now, 55% was the speaker's body, 38% tone from the speaker's voice, what they could hear, and just 7% was the words. Just 7%. So tell me, when you're preparing for an important presentation, do you spend 93% of your time preparing your nonverbal communication? Or do you spend 93% of your time or more preparing your verbal communication, right? What you're going to say, agonizing over the PowerPoint. I hope that if you get nothing else from this presentation, I hope you get a lot from this presentation, but if you get nothing else, that you get this, that your nonverbal communication is so much more impactful than the words. See if you can soften your grip on scripts and on saying the perfect thing and really lean into the art of nonverbal communication. That is the art of successful, effective, persuasive speakers and leaders. We talked about this earlier, but it's some examples of nonverbal communication: gestures, eye contact, vocal tonality, your posture, facial expressions, your rhythm or your speed, your pitch, your volume, etc. It's a whole language, really. You already know how to do it. That's the good news. You already know how to do it. I'm going to show you in a moment. In terms of nonverbal communication, it works. It's working when you have congruence. And what I mean by that is that there's congruence between your mind's idea, the idea that you have of what you want to say, the words, the mental concept, and the way it's expressed through your body and your physical voice. When there's congruence between those two things, that's when you'll be seen as a leader. That's when you'll be seen as an effective presenter. Congruence is something that I look for in my clients, and I'm always giving them feedback on. I might say something like, you were talking about that first thing, that first, if they're using the power of threes, right? There's three sections. You're talking about that first element, but you gestured towards the third element. That matters. It really matters to an audience. If your hands are going all over the place and you have three things, it'll be harder for us to follow. But you could simply use your hands to support your message by doing something like, the first thing is this, and the second thing is this, and the third thing is this. Do you see it? What questions do you have about congruence? It's a really like nuanced concept that the only way to teach you it is for you to do it, for you to experience it. Let's explore it together. I'm going to give you a word, and I simply want you to gesture that word. It doesn't matter if you're on video or not, but if you're on video, we'll be able to see each other, which is cool. And you might get inspired by each other, which is good too. Okay. I'm going to give you a word, you gesture that word, and I'm not going to move my hands. Try not to move my hands so you can do your own thing. There's no right or wrong with this. Just, do what comes naturally. Okay, gesture for me, the past. The past. Gesture, the future. Mm-hmm. Gesture, the present moment. Got it. Now gesture a timeline from the past through the present to the future. Nice. There's some variations there, and that's great. That's great. Okay, now size. Something is really big, there's a lot of it. Yeah, I like the facial expressions that are coming out there too. And gesture, something is small, there's not a lot of it. Yeah, nice, Julia. Yeah, nice other Julia. And now gesture those together. So something is getting bigger over time. For example, you might say something like, in the next 6 months, we expect a 25% increase. What would that look like? Nice, Berlin. Yeah, yeah. In the next 6 months, we expect a 25% decrease. What would that be like? How would you gesture that? Yeah. And I don't know if you present numbers like that. It's pretty common with my corporate ladies, professional ladies. And maybe with marketing, you're talking about like ad data or something, um, really concrete things to work on your gesture with. Say you're doing something. I've run Facebook ads and TikTok ads. I think of that in terms of marketing. If I think about like the ROI or the click-through rate, right? Our click-through rate on ad number one was 4%, but our click-through rate on ad number two was 9.5%. Notice how I showed that that's bigger. It's simple, but what does the gesture add to it? How does that impact you to see the gesture versus if I didn't have the gesture? Our click-through rate is 4% on ad number one. It's more engaging. Yeah. Click-through rate on ad number two is 9.5%. Yeah. Let's go a little bit more nuanced. These words will have more emotional tonality. First, starting with the most basic emotional tonality that there is. Something is really good. Say out loud, something is really good, and gesture while you do it. Ready, set, go. I love it. Oh, yeah. And I love hearing your voice. Thank you, Julia. Something's really bad. It's not good. How would you gesture that? How would you vocalize that? Yeah, I like the head nodding. Yeah. See how it just comes to you naturally? You don't have to choreograph it or think about it. Really, that's congruence right there. Okay, so like I said, we're nuanced. We're working together. We're working collaboratively. Say that out loud and gesture that while you say it. Lovely, Cassie. Yeah, we're working in silos or we're working independently. Gesture that. Say that. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Something is very overwhelming or complicated. How would you gesture that? Julia Roberto, keep gesturing for me, dear.
I'm sorry, I struggled to figure out those two.
The complicated one.
Yeah.
Show me something is complicated.
I don't know what I would do for that. I'm not sure.
So it's overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
okay, that makes sense.
overwhelming. I mean, it really, there's no right or wrong. Just let your body do it. Try not to think about it. Something is really simple. What about that? How would you do that? Yeah, nice, Kathy. Something simple. And it could be different based on the audience you're talking to, the topic you're talking about. This is not a cookie cutter black and white skill at all. That's what makes it hard and hard to teach. But you all did a really good job of just jumping in and trying it and embodying it and playing. And that's the right attitude, right? The yes and attitude. Good. What questions do you have about gestures? What questions do you have about nonverbal communication? About how you would use it more effectively in your situations? There's only so much we can get into in an intro workshop, but I want to make sure you have what you need. Okay. Let's recap everything we covered today. First, we talked about reducing nerves through nervous system regulation. Like I said, that's the foundation of your house in terms of speaking skills. And then we worked on how to get out of your head around content and improvise. Yeah, using structures. And then we worked just now on how to express confidence through nonverbal communication, having that congruence and clarity with how you use your nonverbals to connect or to amplify your message. What are your biggest takeaways? What were the things that stood out to you? And if you would like to unmute, I'd love to hear your voice. If you want to write that into the chat, that'd be great too. I'd love to hear from at least 3 people about what your takeaways are, the things that felt the most helpful, the things that stood out as things you needed to work on. What were those for you? Yes, please, Cassie.
I always heard, even going like to therapy, that before a big thing like a meeting with my boss, for example, to take these big breaths. The
Yeah.
4-7-4, 4-7-3, there's some kind of technique that you use. And I never do it. And like it's interesting hearing it from another professional because I'm like, okay, maybe I really have to take this seriously. And also, I never realized that it's like there should be moments when you're inhaling while you're speaking. And I feel like that's why I get so gassed. And I don't like speaking for long periods of times. Nor does, I mean, that breath is really crucial just for like developing like thoughts as well. And
Yes.
I guess that's my biggest takeaway. It's a beautiful and a thought that I already knew but didn't want to implement in my life for some reason. I was resisting.
Thank you, Cassie. That was so well articulated. Like you just summed up all my breathing stuff perfectly. I love it. And you're totally right that a lot of people will hear this kind of advice around breathing, whether it's from their therapist or they read it online somewhere. I mean, almost every self-help thing around anxiety and nerves, whether it's social anxiety or performance anxiety, is going to talk about breathing. But it's easy to ignore. I can't do it for you. I can't be there to coach you necessarily before your important meeting. So it does take some willpower or like personal motivation. Yeah. Yeah, good takeaway. What are some other takeaways that you have? Anybody want to unmute or write in the chat?
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
Celia.
I think the nonverbal communication stuff is interesting, especially because when I am presenting kind of something that I'm stressed about, I'll try to be camera off because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what my face is gonna do and I don't want to think about
Mm-hmm.
it. Which sounds silly, but I just like I don't want to think about being perceived while I'm like trying to focus on something. So I think maybe kind of practicing that in lower stress situations might help so that I could
Yeah.
translate it easier to higher stress situations.
Yeah, that's a great real world thinking it through. Good job. Because we all have where we're starting at, different starting points. And it sounds like working on the nervous system regulation would be the first thing for you to focus on.
Hmm.
And then nonverbal communication could feel more natural and easy once you're not worrying about things so much,
Yeah.
But in general, a best practice for speakers is to be on camera with
Hmm.
virtual stuff. I know there's different company cultures and different preferences, but it just makes a bigger impact and increases your visibility, which
Hmm.
improves your personal brand at work. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, what do we got? I think virtual speaking comes way easier to me because I can be in my comfy PJs versus, yeah, totally. I get it. Stiff clothes. Well, first of all, I was actually talking to a client about this earlier today. We did a whole deep dive into her wardrobe because what you wear is a really big part of your confidence as well as your nonverbal communication. So it's something for speakers to really think about and leaders to think about and make strategic choices about. And one of those strategic choices is that you're comfortable, that you can breathe, that you can move easily, and that you feel good. That you feel good about yourself. So I would encourage you to think about that and go shopping and keep that in mind. What other takeaways? Let's have one more takeaway. Yeah.
I liked it when you said we're always improvising. Like
Yeah.
that makes it a lot less scary because it's not, in my head I was thinking like, okay, when I go into a meeting, that's like this special event, but it's not because we're always talking to people and improvising.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad that I could release some pressure for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We need in general around speaking to just reduce the pressure, right, on ourselves. Yeah, get the leggings that look like jeans. Absolutely. Or they make those leggings that look like trousers. They have the nice crease on them. Seriously, I think it's Spanx that has those, right? I don't know. That's definitely a thing. Love it. Crowdsourcing our wardrobe. Okay, as a last thought, I want to share four reasons most professional women never get rid of speaking nerves. They might, and this goes to what Cassie was saying, they might have heard things before, they attend a workshop like this, and then I'm about to, let you go and send you off into your lives. So, what are the reasons that speaking nerves stick around and linger, sometimes for your whole career? Yeah. And maybe you'll regret it at the end of your career. Like, oh, I could have gone a lot further with it. Could have advanced further, made a bigger impact if I had really gotten over this. Well, the number one thing is that they don't know how to get rid of nerves. I hope that you learn some skills today, gathered some tools that'll support you so you have more knowledge already. Fantastic. But there's a lot to learn. It's a skill set. And when you feel more competent as a speaker, you also will feel more confident. This is a big one. It's a mindset thing. You're not going to get over nerves if you don't believe you can. So there has to be at least a glimmer of hope that it is possible for me to be confident. I believe that I could. I've seen other women do it. I know it's possible for me. Yeah. So I'll challenge you if you're sitting over there with the mindset of, I'm just not good at this. I don't like speaking. I don't like being in the spotlight. Don't put me on the spot. That mindset is holding you back, right? And it's creating nerves and anxiety. Another big one is not having accountability, having that lone wolf mentality. Maybe you're a DIYer, you are scrolling around YouTube and listening to podcasts, and you have maybe a lot of information in your head, but it's difficult to apply it. And that makes a lot of sense, because when it comes to speaking skills, it's not the kind of thing that you can really do all on your own in your own little bubble. It's about communication. It's an experiential thing. It's about being seen and heard by other people, right? So lone wolfing usually is a long road or just doesn't quite work in terms of speaking skills. And lastly, an important one to mention is not prioritizing it. Maybe you don't prioritize your speaking skills until you have that important big meeting coming up and you're like, I'm freaking out about this, and all of your attention goes to these slides and what to say, but then the speaking gig's over and you sort of forget about it and you're focused on other things. It's the kind of skill set that takes a little, like a chunk of time to learn, but then you have it. It's sort of like riding a bike. You just have that muscle memory. So I encourage women at a certain point in their career, when they're getting to the point where it's no longer about like gathering skills in your industry. So my marketing ladies, you were gathering skills about marketing, right? Well, once you have the skills, then your career is about communicating to others, leading others, managing others, facilitating, presenting, all of that. At a certain point, that's all your work will be if you want to advance, in your career. So I say at a certain point, when you hit that kind of phase, it's time to prioritize learning communication skills, whether it's from me or anybody else. There's just a phase that it makes a big difference. With that in mind, would it be okay if I invite you to a next step opportunity that could give you some more of all of these things? Okay, thank you. I would feel like a bad coach if I just left you with nothing. I want to give you some hope as well, that tell you about Melina, who was one of my clients a few years ago. She came across as young. She told me that, like, people thought she was young. She had this soft, somewhat high-pitched voice, and she wanted a leadership position that was coming up for promotion soon. And so we worked together on her confidence and on her nonverbal communication skills, and she got the promotion. I'm really proud of her. And she said that she spoke more confidently than ever before, more in tune with her body, and it helped her overcome her personal hurdles and be a brighter, more confident me. I love that. I'm so inspired by all these things, all these women. And Essie said that speaking was her biggest fear, her number one fear. But after we worked together, did a presentation that she felt comfortable in presenting in front of 400 people. She actually had fun and, said it wouldn't be possible without me, but it's her. Like, she showed up and did the work and went out there and did the speaking gig, right? Faced her fears. For you, I'd like to invite you to a Speak to Inspire session with me. If you know that you've been experiencing nerves around your speaking for a long time, and it's something that you'd like to tackle and just never made a priority, this might be a good opportunity for you. It's an opportunity to be with me one-on-one for about 30 minutes over Zoom and clarify your goals around speaking and clarify what your challenges are. I can give you feedback on that. We can break it down so you really understand what the challenge is. I'll give you some expert recommendations on how I suggest you can get where you want to go. And if it feels like we're a good fit, we can explore my coaching programs. If there's never any pressure, but if it feels like a good fit, we can explore that and you'll be able to get started with the program. Go to speaktoinspire.com. Just pull that up on your browser right now as we're chatting so that you have it, and you'll see there that it says coaching at the top. If you click on that link, it'll take you to a page where you can schedule a session and there'll be slots open for the next week. So you can see, whatever time works for you. I'd love to talk to you. You can also see on my website the link to my podcast. I mentioned that earlier. The self-paced courses are available as well. If you just want to get started with something right away, jump into a self-paced course, chock full of content. Would love for you to have that. And they're really accessible price-wise. And the one-on-one coaching is where you're going to get the feedback that often is the game changer. So that's why I want to invite you to chat with me. We can just have a conversation, see if we're a good fit. And if so, we could get you started with some coaching. As you're doing that, scheduling your call, I'll tell you about Shannon, who was a scripter, planned every word in eloquent paragraphs. And I love how she said it after we worked together. She said, I'm using your tools to help me manage my panic and stay calm. So I have small waves of terror versus a debilitating tsunami. And that's a huge accomplishment, right? That you can ride the waves, basically. I want that for all of you. Once again, the Speak to Inspire session is an opportunity to talk about your goals, your challenges, get my personalized expert feedback, and explore Speak to Inspire coaching if it's a good fit for you. I hope today was helpful. I look forward to talking to some of you. I'm happy to hang around for any questions that you have around the content today and around improving your speaking in general. Before we go into questions and Berlin's round conclusion for today, I'll leave you with the thought that it's my belief that the world needs your voice. And if you found me, which you all have, it's time for you to speak to inspire. So I hope you can go out and do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love that final quote. That was really good. I'm dropping into the chat Julia's Instagram so you can connect with her. Our signups sheet, if you didn't get a chance to grab that earlier, and then our next event's coming up. Our next one's our feedback round, which is great. Our next presentation is about Google Ads, and then we do another feedback, and then we're doing a human design and using that to grow your business. So that will be really cool. The meetup link is there to register for any of those. And then we will send you an email after this, along with this recap or the recording. There was so many great takeaways here. I'm really going to practice the bookend thing and making that seamless. I feel like I'm going to be too it won't really flow when I attempt it. So we'll see how that goes. But that was really amazing. Thank you so much, Julia. Definitely a lot to take away. Julia, anything else to add, or does anybody have any questions or anything else?
Yeah, I'll just say when we send the recap email, we'll send those links that Julia mentioned as well, so you can have them right there. But Julia, I think we invited you to our LinkedIn group as well. So if you wanted to pop in there, drop all the links you want to share, that would be great too.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for being here. This was great.
Yeah, this was wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Night. See you guys later. Thanks for coming.